They say the walls of Crestwood State Hospital never forget. I don't either. Not the night I traded my freedom for my sister's life. My name's Arya, and for 10 years I've been breathing this bleach and counting the seconds I owe her. The air here always smells the same, chemical, clean and empty. Even the lights hum like they've forgotten how to stop. Keys jingle. Doors click. Nurses drift in white. They call it order. I call it waiting. They say I'm stable now. I smile when they ask if I'm fine. Inside I count heartbeats, not to calm down, but to remember I'm still dangerous. They call it an impulse disorder. Sounds polite, doesn't it? Just means I feel too much. When I'm happy, fireworks. When I'm angry, the world burns. And once it actually did. I was 16. A boy had dragged my twin sister Lila behind the school. His hand was over her mouth, she was shaking. I saw her eyes, terrified, small. Then I moved. There was a snap. A sound like dry wood breaking. Then screams. Then silence. That silence became my sentence. My parents said Crestwood would help me. Maybe it helped them not having to look at what I'd done. 10 years later, the outside world feels like a rumor. Only Lila kept me real. Once a month she came through the heavy door with that soft smile and trembling hands, bringing cookies or fruit, pretending everything was fine. Until the day she couldn't pretend anymore. It was hot that afternoon, sunlight spilling through the tiny window. When the guard called my name, something in me tightened. She stepped in slowly, clutching a basket of apples. Her blouse buttoned to her neck, though it was almost 30 degrees. Her face too pale, too quiet. "Arya," she whispered. "How are you doing?" Her voice was paper-thin. I saw the faint purple mark under her makeup. I reached out. She flinched. "What happened?" "Nothing," she said quickly. "I fell off my bike." "Off your bike?" "Beat." "Lila, that's not a fall." She looked down, twisting her fingers until her knuckles went white. I lifted her sleeve. Her arms were a map of bruises, old, new, every color pain knows. "Who did this?" She shook her head, voice breaking. "It's Damon." "Her husband." She fell apart, words spilling through sobs. Damon's gambling, his shouting, his hands. His mother Beatrice calling her useless, making her scrub floors till her skin cracked. His sister Tessa laughing while she worked. And then Sophia, her little girl. "He hit her, Arya." Beat of silence. "He hit our little girl." For a second the room went white. My pulse thundered in my ears. That was it. I walked to the cracked mirror. Lila's reflection stood beside mine, same eyes, same blood. Only one of us still looked alive. "You didn't come just to visit me," I said. "You came to switch lives." She stared. "What?" "No. Arya, you can't. You'll stay here. I'll go out." "Arya, Damon will kill you. You don't understand." "I know monsters," I said quietly. "Here they wear name tags. Out there they wear wedding rings." Her hands trembled in mine. "If they find out." "They won't. We're identical. You'll keep your head down, stay quiet. They'll think you're me on a calm day." Her lips shook. "Why are you doing this?" "For Sophia." Silence. Footsteps in the hall. Keys. Voices. If they opened that door, everything would end. "Now," I whispered. "We switch now." She froze, just a heartbeat, then nodded. The doorknob rattled. My heart stopped. The voices drifted away. We didn't speak. We didn't breathe. We just moved. Her hand shook as she buttoned my uniform, tears catching in the fabric. For a second, our faces blurred in the mirror. One breath, one choice, and she vanished. Her blouse smelled like detergent and fear. My uniform smelled like captivity. When she put it on, she looked smaller but safe. I gripped her shoulders. "Stay quiet. Read. No one will hurt you again." Her eyes searched mine. "What are you going to do?" I smiled faintly. "Remind Damon what fear feels like." The bell rang. Visiting hours over. A knock at the door. "Time's up, Mrs. Hall." I forced a shaky smile, hers, and stepped out. The nurse barely looked up. "Goodbye, Mrs. Hall. See you next month." "See you," I murmured. The door clanged shut behind me. The lock clicked, louder than I remembered. For the first time in 10 years I was outside. The air hit my face, warm, thick, alive. I tasted dust, sunlight, freedom. I walked until the hospital disappeared behind the trees. The road shimmered ahead. I clenched the house keys in my pocket and whispered their names. Damon, Beatrice, Tessa. The wind carried them away. I smiled. I'm coming home. That night I reached the end of a narrow dirt path and saw the house where my sister had been living. Peeling paint, cracked windows, a mailbox hanging by one hinge. And on the porch, a single light still burning. It flickered, faint and yellow, like it had been waiting for me. That light wasn't waiting for me. It was daring me. By morning, they'd wish it was Lila who came home. The porch light hummed like a dying bee, spilling weak gold across warped steps. If the house could recognize footsteps, it would know these weren't hers. I stood there for a long moment, the night pressing close, Lila's skirt brushing my knees like borrowed skin. The door wasn't wood anymore. It was a throat that had swallowed her silence. I turned the handle and walked in. The air reeked of smoke, grease, and arguments that never ended. A television laughed to itself in the dark. Damon Hall slouched on the couch, beer can balanced on his stomach. He blinked at me. "You're back early." I didn't answer. "Where are the groceries?" He paused. "Why were you looking at me like that?" Because fear needed to wake up in his eyes. I smiled, small, polite. "Just tired." He grunted. "Then get me another beer." The kitchen floor was sticky. The fridge hummed like a tired heart. On the table, a child's drawing. 2 stick figures, a crooked sun, a red heart. "Mama and me." I touched the paper. Blue crayon smudged my finger. Then I opened a can and brought it to him. He took it without thanks. The laugh track roared. No one joined it. An hour later, Beatrice and Tessa came home, dripping perfume and gossip. Beatrice's smile collapsed when she saw me. "You're home," she said flatly. "I am." Tessa tossed her purse. "Try not to burn dinner this time," Beatrice sniffed. "Or over-season it." Cruelty became their breakfast prayer. I just learned the verses faster. "Dinner's waiting," I said. "Stew." Beatrice hesitated. "Since when do you?" "Since today." At the table, silence did the talking. Damon said it was too hot. Beatrice said better than usual. Tessa only watched me. "Good. Let her wonder." Halfway through, Damon asked, "Where's Sophia?" "Sleeping." "She better be. Last night she..." Last night she what?" He blinked. "Forget it." "Yes," I said. "Forget it." Silence turned sharp. Later I checked on Sophia. Crayon blue walls, cracked nightlight. She was a small hill under her blanket, safe for once. Her innocence hurt to look at, so fragile you had to guard it with teeth. I brushed her hair aside. "Sleep, little one. Your mama's safe now." The nightlight painted soft moons on the wall as I left the door ajar. Days found a rhythm, but not theirs. Damon left at 8. Beatrice ruled the kitchen like a shrinking queen. Tessa drifted in and out, smelling of secrets. I spoke little. I watched everything. The house noticed. Its creaks changed pitch beneath me. One morning Beatrice snapped. "Why are you staring at me like that?" "Like what?" "Like you know something." "Maybe I do." Her laugh cracked. "Don't get smart with me, girl. I wouldn't dream of it." But she flinched when the hallway light flickered. The house was already choosing sides. Tessa broke first. Late home lipstick smudged. "You've been different," she whispered. "Sharper. Quieter." "Maybe you're not used to quiet." She frowned. "You're creeping everyone out." "Good," I said softly. "Means you're paying attention." She stepped back. "You're scaring me." "Then stop watching." Her door slammed. The echo smiled for me. Fear had a scent, and that night it reached the walls. "Morning," Damon barked. "Where's my shirt?" "In the dryer. You're supposed to fold it, then fold it." He slammed his fist on the table, but the sound died halfway, like the house refused to echo him. We stared at each other. Then I smiled as if it were a joke. He laughed, not sure why his hands were shaking. Power had changed addresses. Each night I let the house whisper for me. I moved Beatrice's framed husband again and again until she stopped sleeping. I swapped sugar with salt. I left the faucet dripping, a slow heartbeat through the dark. I hummed our childhood lullaby, the one Damon hated. Every time he heard it, his shoulders stiffened. "You keep humming that song," he warned. "And I swear, you'll what?" He never answered. By the third week, the walls were swollen with silence. Beatrice trembled. Tessa avoided me completely. Damon drank and stared at doorways. One night thunder crawled across the sky. I was humming when Damon stumbled in. He froze. "Arya." The name cracked the air. I turned slowly. "What did you call me?" He blinked fast. "Nothing. I meant Lila. Of course you did." I went back to washing the knife. Water over metal. He left before it ended. That one mistaken name made the house breathe differently. A few nights later, Sophia cried out. I reached her first. "Mama." "Yes, baby." He yelled again. "Not anymore." "Promise." For every heartbeat I stole back from them, I whispered. "I lost one of my own. But I promise." She drifted to sleep. Rain began tapping the window, each drop a confession. Morning. Damon looked hollow. "You moved something in my room?" "No. My watch is gone." "Maybe you misplaced it." "You've been messing with things." "Have I?" "Take better care of your things," I said. "Some disappear when you stop valuing." He backed away. That night the storm returned. Beatrice hovered at the doorway. "You're not sleeping?" "No." "You should be. Damon's been different." "Good." She blanched. "You talk like you're not yourself." "Maybe I'm not." Lightning flashed, her shadow jumped. "Go inside, Mrs. Hall," I said. "The night isn't safe." She obeyed. When I lay down, the house held its breath. Pipes groaned. Rain whispered secrets through the gutters. They were cracking, all of them. And fear is loyal. Once it loves you, it never leaves. By the fourth day, Beatrice and Tessa were gone, visiting relatives. Damon didn't stop them, just him, me, and the memories that refused to die. He sat at the table staring into cold coffee. I hummed. He winced. "Stop it." "Stop what?" "All of it. You're trying to make me crazy." "Oh, Damon." I smiled. "You don't need my help for that." His voice cracked. "You're not her." I stepped into the light. "What makes you so sure?" "I buried her," he whispered. "I broke her." The words strangled themselves. "Yes," I said. "You did." He flinched. I turned toward the dark hallway. "You don't get an ending, only echoes." He stayed silent. Outside, the rain eased. Down the hall, Sophia murmured in her sleep. "Ari," she breathed, and the walls seemed to answer. I closed my eyes. Maybe now the house could breathe again. But houses don't heal that easily. They remember what we try to forget, and sometimes they remind you who you really are. The rain had quit. But its smell lingered, wet wood, rust, and sleep that wouldn't wake. No Beatrice's cooking clatter. No Tessa's perfume cloud. Only Damon's uneven breathing down the hall, and the quiet that pressed against the walls like waiting hands. I stood at the window. The glass trembled with the memory of thunder. Every beam beneath my feet felt alive. Timber shifting under guilt. They say old houses settle. This one listened. At night the silence filled itself. A soft hum, a creak that ended too quickly. Boards creaked before I stepped on them, as though guessing where I would go. I cleaned. I cooked. I smiled when I had to. but the air stayed thick, metallic, watching. For a breath the quiet thickened. Then the wall exhaled. Sophia slept with her door half open. Her nightlight painted the hallway in honey and fear. I heard her whisper once. "The wall." She paused. "Good night, Sophia," it whispered back. She smiled. I didn't. I'd heard that lullaby before, only it wasn't meant for her. Morning brought Damon's footsteps. Slow, dragging, uncertain. He lingered at the kitchen doorway, a shadow still trying to remember how to speak. His fingers trembled on the mug handle before the anger took over. He slammed his fist on the table, but the sound died halfway. As if the house refused to echo him, we stared at each other through the silence. He blinked first. Days folded in on themselves. Cruelty had been their breakfast prayer. I just learned the verses faster. Beatrice called once. The line hissed like rain on wires. She said, "Maybe you missed the house." When the line died, the receiver clicked twice on its own, like someone exhaling through the wire. I left the phone hanging. The silence hummed through the cord. Later I followed the humming below. The basement door side open, its hinges cold and damp as breath. Water slicked the concrete. A single bulb swung, casting the room in restless circles of light. Something thudded once beneath the floor, a low, heavy heartbeat, then silence. The air tasted metallic before the voice came. "She's not done," it said. I looked down. In a puddle, my reflection blinked a moment too late. Then the light steadied, as if pretending nothing had moved. That night, Damon sat at the table. Sophia's drawings lay scattered between us. Scribbles of red roofs and stick figures holding hands. He stared at one until his knuckles whitened. "I hit her," he whispered. The wall behind him cracked loud as thunder. Dust fell like ash between us. He didn't move. Neither did I. Truth doesn't need hate to last. He cried without sound. I let him. The house listened better than I ever could. When he finally looked up, his eyes found mine through the dust. "What do you want from me?" The bulb above us flickered once. "You forgot something," I said. "What?" "Mercy." The word hung there, vibrating in the light. When he left, the echo stayed. Or maybe I did. Before dawn, Sophia woke crying. She said she dreamed of a song. The same lullaby. But this time it sounded like goodbye. I held her until her breathing slowed. The wind pressed its palm against the window, as if checking whether the house was still alive. Down the hall, the crack in the wall had widened. It whispered once more, softer now. "You forgot something." Then silence. By morning, sunlight crawled over the floorboards. Thin and careful. Like someone tiptoeing through a memory. The house smelled of rain again. Sophia hummed the lullaby under her breath. I joined her quietly. To see if the walls would listen. For a moment they did. The wood pulsed once. Like a heartbeat that didn't belong to either of us. It doesn't ask for revenge anymore. It asks what comes after forgiveness. The rain had quit. But its smell lingered. Wet wood, rust, and sleep that refused to end. No Beatrice's cooking clatter. No Tessa's perfume cloud. Only Damon's uneven breathing down the hall, and the quiet that pressed against the walls like waiting hands. I stood at the window. The glass trembled with the memory of thunder. Every beam beneath my feet felt alive. Timber shifting under guilt. They say old houses settle. This one listened. Some wounds wanted quiet. Others only wanted to be heard. At night the silence filled itself. A soft hum, a creak that ended too quickly. Boards creaked before I stepped on them, as though guessing where I would go. I cleaned. I cooked. I smiled when I had to. But the air stayed thick, metallic, watching. For a breath the quiet thickened. Then the wall exhaled. Sophia slept with her door half open. Her nightlight painted the hallway in honey and fear. I heard her whisper once. "The wall." She paused. "Good night, Sophia," it whispered back. It was learning her name too. She smiled. I didn't. I'd heard that lullaby before, only it wasn't meant for her. Morning brought Damon's footsteps. Slow, dragging, uncertain. He lingered at the kitchen doorway, a shadow still trying to remember how to speak. His fingers trembled on the mug handle before the anger took over. He slammed his fist on the table, but the sound died halfway. As if the house refused to echo him, we stared at each other through the silence. He blinked first. Days folded in on themselves. Cruelty had been their breakfast prayer. I just learned the verses faster. Then one morning even the air forgot how to argue. Beatrice called once. The line hissed like rain on wires. She said, "Maybe you missed the house." When the line died, the receiver clicked twice on its own, like someone exhaling through the wire. I left the phone hanging. The silence hummed through the cord. Later I followed the humming below. The basement door side open, its hinges cold and damp as breath. Water slicked the concrete. A single bulb swung, casting the room in restless circles of light. Something thudded once beneath the floor. A low, heavy heartbeat, then silence. The air tasted metallic before the voice came. "She's not done," it said. I looked down. In a puddle my reflection blinked a moment too late. Then the light steadied, as if pretending nothing had moved. That night, Damon sat at the table. Sophia's drawings lay scattered between us. Scribbles of red roofs and stick figures holding hands. He stared at one until his knuckles whitened. "I hit her," he whispered. The wall behind him cracked like thunder. Dust fell like ash between us. He didn't move. Neither did I. Truth doesn't need hate to last. He cried without sound. I let him. The house listened better than I ever could. When he finally looked up, his eyes found mine through the dust. "What do you want from me?" The bulb above us flickered once. "You forgot something," I said. "What?" "Mercy." The word hung there, vibrating in the light. When he left, the echo stayed. Or maybe I did. Before dawn, Sophia woke crying. She said she dreamed of a song. The same lullaby. But this time it sounded like goodbye. I held her until her breathing slowed. The song followed her breathing, slow and small. As if the house was listening too. Down the hall, the crack in the wall had widened. It whispered once more, softer now. "You forgot something." Then silence. By morning, sunlight crawled over the floorboards. Thin and careful. Like someone tiptoeing through a memory. The house smelled of rain again. Sophia hummed the lullaby under her breath. I joined her quietly. To see if the walls would listen. For a moment they did. The wood pulsed once. Like a heartbeat that didn't belong to either of us. It doesn't ask for revenge anymore. It asks what comes after forgiveness. And the walls wait for my answer. Damon was gone. The silence he left behind didn't fade. It settled. It thickened the air until every breath tasted like dust and endings. His boots still sat by the door. I didn't move them. Absence makes its own noise if you listen long enough. Sophia drew in the living room sunlight. Crayons rolling like small thunder across the floor. She hummed the lullaby, softer now, as if sharing it with the walls. The house breathed with her rhythm. Each note tugged at the boards, a pulse just beneath the paint. I tried to hum along, but the tune slipped under my tongue. Lower, slower, almost words. I stopped. The air didn't. Something kept the melody going after I fell silent. At night, the house learned new ways to breathe. Pipes sighed. Floorboards shifted in answer to my heartbeat. Sometimes I whispered into the dark, testing it the way a child tests faith. "Are you listening?" A sigh moved through the vents, soft as an answer withheld. Other nights it spoke first. Not language, only pressure. A thought brushing the inside of my skull. Forgive. Forget. Finish. 3 breaths, not quite words. I told myself it was wind. Wind doesn't sound like memory. Sophia forgave easily. Children do. They forgive before they know what it costs. Maybe that's why the house liked her. She left her drawings on the hallway floor. Tiny bursts of color in a grayscale place. Each morning they were moved, taped higher, neatly centered. Walls that hadn't been touched held them straight. Who helped you hang these? I asked. The house did, she said, smiling. I didn't ask again. Morning smelled of dust and dish soap. The kitchen clock ticked louder than usual, as if measuring my hesitation. The faucet dripped in time with it. Drop, drop, drop. A heartbeat I couldn't claim. I tightened the handle until it screamed. The drip stopped. The silence that followed felt like held breath. As if the house were waiting for me to say thank you. I didn't. A soft click came from somewhere deep inside the wall, like a lock turning itself. I found the door 2 nights later. Behind the pantry. It hadn't been there before. Wallpaper folded like skin over a hidden seam. When I pressed my palm to it, the seam pulsed warm, almost kind. Sophia slept upstairs. The house knew. It hummed the lullaby through the floorboards, a reassurance I didn't trust. What do you want? I whispered. The hum thickened, then barely breath-shaped into sound. Not want. Remember. I pulled my hand back. The seam vanished, leaving only faded flowers that seemed to breathe out of sync with the rest. I pretended not to see it after that. Pretended not to hear my name, carried through the air vents. Arya, Arya, Arya. Always drawn out like a sigh. Never accusing. Never kind. Sophia started drawing the house again. This time she gave it eyes. 2 yellow squares glowing against gray crayon walls. And a mouth shaped like a door. She showed me proudly. It's smiling now. I didn't tell her. That doors only smile before they swallow. Rain returned after a week of stillness. It came with wind that made the siding moan, and thunder that never struck close enough to end suspense. I sat in the dark counting flashes. The house counted with me. A tap in the ceiling for every bolt of light. At 10, a voice slid between the taps. You kept mercy. It wasn't an accusation. It sounded curious, almost gentle. Yes, I said aloud. Shouldn't I have? The answer came as silence. So deep I could hear my pulse crawl down the hallway. Then faintly. Mercy costs. The bulb above me flared white. Then burst, raining quiet glass into my hands. I didn't bleed. The shards were warm like breath. Halfway down the hall, Sophia's door creaked open. Her small voice drifted out. Mom? The house is talking again. Go back to sleep, baby. It says it's lonely. The walls shivered. A low, drawn-out sound that felt too close to a sob. I stood there listening, until the air stopped trembling. When I looked back at her doorway, she was already asleep. The house hummed to her, a lullaby I didn't remember teaching. Days turned syrup slow. Light entered differently, bent around corners that used to be straight. I started hearing small clicks in the morning. Not pipes, not the clock. Like fingernails tapping on glass. One by one, picture frames tilted. Each leaned left, as though gravity had opinions. I straightened them every hour. By night, they tilted again. The house was rearranging memory. I found one frame face down on the table. It was the wedding photo, the one I'd left for Damon. In the glass reflection, the wallpaper flowers behind me seemed to bloom, paler, breathing faster. I lifted the frame. The photo beneath had changed. Same dress, same smile. But Damon's eyes were closed, and mine were open too wide. I put it back face down. The air around it exhaled like relief. That night the house whispered longer sentences. The words were almost whole, like a dream that keeps trying to finish itself. You opened the door. I didn't, I said. You did when you stayed. I felt heat behind the wall, like someone breathing through plaster. What do you want me to do? Listen. Then nothing, just rain on the roof. Steady and certain. Like a hand stroking the house to sleep. Morning came pale and reluctant. The whole place smelled of metal and wet wood. as if rain had seeped inside the walls. Sophia's laughter drifted from the hallway. She was chasing light with her hands, catching dust motes like fireflies. The house brightened where she ran. Every corner she passed seemed to breathe easier. I envied how it looked at her, how she never had to earn its gentleness. Later, while she napped, I heard something moving behind the pantry again. A slow scrape, like someone erasing a word from paper. I pressed my ear to the wall. A heartbeat answered. Steady, deliberate, not mine. "Show me," I whispered. The wallpaper warmed beneath my cheek. A crack widened, and for an instant I saw light behind it. Not daylight, but something softer. As if the house kept its own sunrise hidden there. "Remember." The word bloomed inside my head, followed by a rush of images I hadn't asked for. Lila's smile, Sophia's tiny hands, and a door closing on both. I stumbled back. The wall sealed itself. Its breath calm again. I went outside for the first time in weeks. The sky was gray, the garden overgrown and humming with flies. From the yard, the windows looked different, like eyes half shut in prayer. I walked to the edge of the porch, tried to breathe air that didn't belong to the house. It still tasted like plaster. Behind me, the front door creaked open on its own. The wind whispered through the gap. "Come home." I didn't remember leaving. That evening, Sophia asked why the house sighed so much. "Because it's tired," I said. "Tired of what?" "Of remembering." She thought about that, then nodded, as if it made perfect sense. Children understand grief better than adults, they just call it weather. The following night I couldn't sleep. Every room ticked. Every shadow leaned closer. Around midnight I heard water running. In the bathroom the tub was filling itself. Steam rose slowly, carrying the scent of rust and lavender. I turned the knob. It wouldn't stop. The surface trembled, and words formed there, ripples spelling a question. "Do you forgive?" I touched the water. It was warm. The letters broke apart, dissolving like secrets. "I don't know," I said. The drain answered with a low, drawn breath. In the morning, a damp footprint waited outside my door. Small, Sophia's size, leading nowhere. I checked her bed. She was still curled beneath the blanket, dreaming softly. The print dried while I watched. The floor whispered one word as it faded. Almost. By afternoon the air changed again. The hum I'd grown used to deepened, became a pulse I could feel in my teeth. I sat on the stairs listening. The rhythm shaped itself into phrases, half whisper, half thought. "Mercy keeps you. Mercy keeps me." "Then what are you?" I asked. "What's left?" The banister shuddered under my hand, wood warm as skin. That evening I found Sophia sitting beneath the window. She was drawing circles on the floor with chalk. 7 of them, overlapping like ripples. "What are those for?" "It said the circles make it quiet." "The house." She nodded. "It said it doesn't want to be loud anymore." The circles glowed faintly when I looked away. When I looked back, they were only chalk again. Rain came heavy that night. Lightning painted every room for a heartbeat. Between flashes, I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, even measured. I went up. The hallway was empty, but the floor was warm under my bare feet. At Sophia's door, a whisper waited for me. "She dreams of you." The knob turned on its own. Inside, Sophia slept smiling. Her hand moved in the air, tracing the lullaby's rhythm without sound. The walls echoed softly. "Mercy costs. Mercy gives. Finish." I stood there until thunder answered. Then the voice came again, clear as speech for the first time. "We remember so you can forget." The words vibrated through the floor, my spine, into the hollow place I tried to bury. "I don't want to forget, then learn to stay." The ceiling creaked once, a sound like a sigh released after years. Toward dawn, the house fell silent. Too silent. I walked room to room. Every window was open. Curtains breathed in and out like lungs. The air tasted new. For the first time, I realized it wasn't just holding memories. It was exhaling them. Sophia's drawings had changed again. The latest one showed the two of us outside, standing in sunlight, the house behind us smiling, its windows empty. I found the pantry door again. The seam had returned, wider now, light spilling through like water. I pressed my hand to it. The warmth met me halfway. "What are you showing me?" "The rest." The door opened inward. The space beyond was the same hallway, but quiet, washed clean of echoes. Every sound I'd ever heard there waited suspended in the air, soft, translucent, like breath caught in glass. Each whisper broke as I passed. Every step felt lighter. At the end of the hall, a single phrase lingered, barely sound, more memory than voice. "Thank you." The light dimmed. The seam closed behind me. I was back in the kitchen. Dawn filtered through the window, thin and forgiving. Sophia sat at the table, swinging her legs, humming. "Is it over?" she asked. "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe it's just different now." The walls gave one soft breath, like a nod. By afternoon the house had gone quiet. Not empty, just calm. When I ran my fingers along the plaster, felt warm, alive but resting. Some wounds wanted quiet, others peace. I wasn't sure which one I'd given it. As dusk bled through the windows, the hum returned once more. Gentle, like the heartbeat of something sleeping beside me. It whispered my name, not as warning, but as recognition. "Arya." "I'm here," I said. The floor beneath my feet steadied. Light gathered in the doorway, golden thin as forgiveness. It didn't ask for revenge anymore. It asked what comes after forgiveness. And when the light shifted, I realized the answer wasn't words. It was breath. It was living. It was staying. Outside, the sky cleared. Sophia's laughter spilled through the open door, bright and ordinary. I looked back once. The house watched through its windows, calm, awake, listening. Its walls no longer waited for my answer. They were answering with me. The house had learned to whisper softly. Now it mostly sighed. Sunlight hung like steam above the floorboards. Each board settled into forgiveness the way scars settle into skin. The kitchen still smelled faintly of smoke and soap. The hum stopped just as Sophia laughed, like the house was listening. I talked to the house the way people talk to graves, hoping the silence answers. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it only breathed. Days uncurled like thin pages. I woke before dawn to the soft click of cooling pipes, the hush between breaths. Even quiet has a schedule here. Sophia padded across the hall, dragging her blanket. She'd outgrown nightmares but not the habit of checking the shadows. I kept the lights dim so the dark could learn to behave. We made pancakes on Tuesdays. She mixed too much flour. I pretended not to mind. Forgiveness, I was learning, tasted a little like burnt edges and syrup. Outside, frost filmed the windows. Inside, we drew hearts in the condensation, watching them fade. I told her that fading didn't mean disappearing, only soft remembering. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Children always overhear more than they're told. I hung her drawings back on the fridge. Birds everywhere. Bright ones now, except one black wing still stretched at the paper's edge. Some things refuse color. Forgiveness hummed in the walls like a secret chord. It wasn't loud. It was steady like a heartbeat learning patience. Sometimes when wind slipped through the attic vent, the notes bent. Almost a voice. Almost my name. Then one morning even the air forgot how to argue. Light fell in careful pieces through the blinds. I stood at the mirror. Steam blurred everything except what mattered. Letters breathed through fog. She forgave you. My breath snagged like cloth on glass. The air felt too small for forgiveness. It wasn't mercy that undid me, it was how quiet it felt. Forgiveness wasn't hers alone to give. It had been waiting in me all along. I wiped the glass, but the words remained, pale and certain. Down the hall, Sophia sang fragments of the lullaby. The melody no longer ached. It wandered. When she reached the last note, the walls murmured, "Listen." Not as warning, as invitation. I listened. Every beam, every nail, every scar in the paint had something left to say. The silence after that felt kind. Kindness sounds different when you've lived without it. That afternoon I found the attic door ajar. Dust swirled in the slice of light like slow snowfall. Boxes slept in corners wrapped in years of forgetting. I touched one, old linens, faint perfume, letters yellowed to parchment. The house exhaled. A faint whisper followed. "Memory costs." "I know," I said. My voice sounded smaller than the dust. "Then why pay again?" it breathed. "Because healing was expensive. Because love collects interest. Because silence asks for installments." No answer came, only the creak of beams stretching like tired ribs. Still, the whisper had moved from echo to question. That was new. Evening arrived slow, filtered through curtains the color of old bruises. I lit the small lamp by the couch. Amber, forgiving light. Sophia dozed with her head against my arm. The hum in the walls shifted key. Lower. Older. I whispered. "Thank you. For holding us, for remembering." The floorboards answered with a soft, steady heartbeat. The next day brought rain again. Not the kind that punishes, the kind that cleans. It drummed gentle fingers on the roof, patient, endless. I opened every window. Let the sound fill rooms that used to hold screams. The smell of wet earth braided with soap and dust. Forgiveness smells a little like rain after bleach. It's faint, but you know it when it finds you. Sophia painted while thunder rolled far away. She used the kitchen wall as her sky. Tiny fingerprints of blue, yellow, one streak of black for the bird that always returned. "The house likes this," she said. "Maybe," I answered. Maybe liking was the house's new language. That night the hum rose again. Not menacing, curious. I followed it to the mantel, where the jar of sea glass waited. It caught lightning for half a second, a quiet applause of light. Inside, shards glowed soft green. A voice almost formed. "Still here." I smiled. "So am I." The reflection in the window looked older. Calmer. Like someone who'd finally stepped out of her own shadow. Sophia called from her room. "Mama, the song changed." "What song?" "The one in the walls." I stood at her door. She lay awake, eyes wide, listening. "It's saying thank you," she whispered. I didn't correct her. Maybe she was right. Maybe mercy sings when no one's watching. Later, when the house slept, I walked the hallway barefoot. My fingertips skimmed the wallpaper's raised pattern. Roses turned to dust. Every touch stirred a sigh. I stopped by the mirror again. Fog gathered though no water ran. New letters drifted up through the mist. Be still. Simple. Command and comfort in one breath. I pressed my palm against the glass. Warm. Alive. I thought of the basement heartbeat, the broken man who'd left without goodbye, the daughter whose dreams rebuilt walls faster than time could. All of it lived here now, gentled by quiet. Outside, the black bird from Sophia's drawings perched on the railing. Rain dotted its wings, making tiny halos. When it shook itself dry, the droplets chimed against the glass like laughter. I sat by the window until dawn. Forgiveness hums, I thought. It never sleeps, it only softens. When light came thin and gold, I rose. The boards beneath my feet felt new, not because they were, but because they remembered differently. Each one a story rewritten in Mercy's handwriting. I opened the jar again. Inside, the hum had settled into harmony. No ghosts, no screams, just the soft pulse of a house learning peace. Stay kind, the house whispered. I almost answered. But Mercy had already spoken. The blackbird lifted off, A shadow peeled from light. Its wings brushed the window once, twice, and were gone. And sometimes when the light moves just right, you can hear the silence rehearsing what it wants to say next. Winter was thinning. The snow outside the porch had lost its will to stay. Inside, the air felt like held breath that had finally decided to exhale. The house was quieter now. Not empty, just emptied. Like a chest after crying. The hum had become a faint vibration beneath the paint. I could feel it if I pressed my hand to the wall. A slow pulse, fading, not dying, retreating. Sophia no longer asked about the voices. She filled her afternoons with paper birds and stories she invented herself. Sometimes she'd hand me one and say, "This one knows secrets." The kitchen clock had stopped at 3:17 2 days ago. I hadn't fixed it. The silence between ticks suited the place better. Forgiveness lives oddly in quiet. It rearranges the air, folds corners of light, teaches rooms how to rest. The house was learning. So was I. Each morning I opened a window. Cold air crept in like a new kind of prayer. Outside, the birch trees gleamed thin and white, bones polished clean. I used to listen for the house first thing after waking. Now I listen for absence. For the space where sound used to sit. Frightened me more than the whispers ever had. Noise meant life. Silence meant choice. The house had always remembered. Now it seemed to be forgetting on purpose. A mercy maybe. A warning maybe. One night the wind returned, curious and soft. It slid its fingers through the chimney and sighed down the hall. The boards didn't answer. I whispered, "You can rest." My breath fogged the dark. Something in the ceiling groaned once, a sleepy acknowledgement. Sophia stirred. "Is it dreaming?" she asked. "I think it's listening," I said. We lay still, counting the pauses between gusts. Silence has a rhythm if you're brave enough to hear it. By morning, frost had drawn veins across the windows. In their pattern I saw something like writing loops, half-letters, almost words. It looked patient. At breakfast, Sophia hummed the lullaby again. Only half of it, the part that used to ache. "It doesn't want to finish," she said. "Maybe it's tired," I told her. "Or maybe it's waiting for the next verse." Her eyes caught mine like light through glass. "Can we make one?" "Maybe later," I said. Later came faster than I expected. While she napped, I opened the jar on the mantel. The sea glass no longer glowed. It was still warm, though. Like something sleeping under skin. A thin thread of air moved through it, too soft to call a hum. I set it on the floor. The boards under it sighed once, then stilled. For the first time in months, the silence felt whole. That scared me, because wholeness can also mean goodbye. That evening the power flickered. Just once, enough to make the walls blink. Then everything steadied again, but the air smelled faintly of ozone and rain. I walked the rooms with a candle. The flame bent as if it recognized corners. Every shadow felt rehearsed. At the mirror, no letters formed. Only fog, then nothing. The house had stopped speaking. I should have felt peace. Instead, the quiet pressed against my ribs like water against glass. Maybe peace and pressure were the same face. At dusk, I sat by the window with tea gone cold. Outside, the world thawed in slow motion, icicles crying themselves small. Inside, the house seemed to hold its breath to listen. A door in the hallway clicked once, soft, almost polite. No draft, no movement. Just the sound of something remembering how to leave. I said aloud, "You don't have to stay." The words surprised me. They sounded older than my own voice. The house didn't answer. Sophia woke to thunder without rain. She climbed into my lap, hair smelling of sleep and crayons. "The walls aren't humming," she said. "No," I whispered. "They're learning silence." Her fingers traced my wrist, counting veins like strings on a small instrument. "What happens when they learn it?" "They'll stop needing us," I said. The answer frightened me, because I wasn't sure who they meant anymore. Night deepened. Every surface collected stillness the way glass collects fingerprints. You can't see it, but it stays. I walked the corridor where Damon once stood shouting. The wallpaper had peeled back in faint petals. The air didn't taste of anger anymore. Only dust and resignation. At the end of the hall, the basement door waited open. No hum. No heartbeat. Just a low draft, cool as forgetting. I stepped down barefoot. The candle's flame shortened, thick with quiet. When I reached the floor, the concrete felt dry, almost warm. Where puddles had once gathered, there was only light. Thin reflections of the candle looping back toward me. And then faintly a sound. Not a whisper. Sigh. Like someone setting down a heavy memory. "Is that you?" I asked. The sigh deepened, became a word caught between breaths. Enough. My knees gave slightly. Tears came without warning, without sadness, the way rain comes to roofs that need rinsing. Enough, I said back. The flame steadied. The walls stayed still. And I knew the house had finally believed me. When I came upstairs, Sophia slept. Her sketchbook lay open on her chest. A single drawing. A house with no doors, only windows wide to the sky. In the margin, a small bird perched on the roof. Its wings weren't black anymore. They were the color of dawn seen through water. I closed the book gently. The quiet in the room felt earned. Every silence we survive becomes language. I sat beside her bed until morning. The first light entered slow, hesitant. It touched the walls like forgiveness wearing new shoes. The hum didn't return, but when I breathed, the air answered. Softly, easily. Maybe this is what mercy sounds like when it stops apologizing. Maybe this is what I was building all along. The clock on the kitchen wall started again. One tick, then another. The smallest resurrection imaginable. Outside, thaw dripped from the eaves, tiny applause for ending things well. I poured tea, opened a window, and let the cold in. It didn't bite this time. The house inhaled once. Then finally it rested. I don't speak to it much anymore, but sometimes when the light moves just right, I feel the air tilt toward me, waiting. And in that tilt a thought forms. Not voice, not sound. Just knowing. Forgiveness taught the house how to listen. Silence taught me how to answer. Now the echoes are mine to keep. And when night returns, soft and certain, the walls no longer hum. They breathe. They wait. They remember. And somewhere within that stillness, something new is beginning to learn its name. Spring arrived shyly, like someone knocking who isn't sure they're welcome. The air smelled of thaw and mud, soft decay becoming promise. For the first time in years, the house felt lighter. The silence had learned its shape. Now it began to stretch, with expanding windows clearing their throats. I woke to birds I didn't recognize. Their calls trembled through cracked glass, small tremors of courage. Even the wallpaper seemed to lean toward sound. Sophia was already up, sitting cross-legged by the doorway with her sketchbook. She wasn't drawing birds this time. She was drawing wind. How do you draw something you can't see? I asked. She smiled without looking up. You draw what it moves. I watched her pencil sweep the page. Lines bending like music, curves that looked like breath. The house seemed to watch too. A curtain shifted without help from the breeze. I whispered, "Careful, it likes to copy us." She laughed. "Then we'll teach it nice things." We opened the windows wide. The air poured in like forgiveness rewritten in green. The smell of rain, soil, and beginnings. For days, nothing strange happened. That felt strange. Peace has an edge when you're used to fear. I cleaned the hallway walls. Under the old grime, faint handprints appeared, mine maybe or echoes. I didn't scrub them away. Some memories deserve a body. At night, I'd lie awake counting the new noises. Floorboards shifting, pipes sighing, the soft creak of growth. It sounded like breathing. The house was learning to inhale again. Each sound felt deliberate, measured, reverent. Alive but cautious. Sometimes when I passed the mirror, I caught a second reflection, slower than mine. Not malicious, just delayed. Like the house needed a moment to remember my face. I stopped being afraid of it. Familiarity can make even ghosts polite. One evening Sophia left the jar open on the mantel. Inside, the sea glass trembled, catching the sunset like a secret kept too long. She whispered, "It's singing again." I listened. A thin hum like breath drawn between words. It came from the house, but the jar kept the rhythm. "What's it saying?" she asked. "Maybe it's tuning itself," I said. Later, when she slept, I went to the kitchen for water. The faucet coughed once, spat rust, then cleared its throat. Another small resurrection. I smiled at the absurdity of feeling proud of plumbing. The window above the sink reflected the moon in pieces. Each shard of glass framed a different sky. That's what healing looks like. Fragmented but whole enough to hold light. Down the hall, the floor released a low, satisfied sigh. I whispered, "I hear you." A board creaked back, one soft note of acknowledgement. Morning light filtered through thin curtains, pale gold on the floor. Dust rose in slow spirals, each particle glowing like it had remembered the sun. The house looked awake. I brewed coffee and waited for the clock to speak. It ticked on its own time now, no rush, no delay. A heartbeat made of gears and mercy. Sophia ran through the hallway, feet bare, laughter skipping across the wood. She stopped suddenly, head tilted. "It's breathing with me," she said. I listened. She was right. Her inhalations matched the faint swell of the floor beneath her. "It's copying you again," I said. "Good," she whispered. "Then it's alive." Alive. The word fluttered inside my chest like the first bird of spring. Life after stillness feels louder than it should. That afternoon we planted herbs in cracked ceramic pots. Mint, rosemary, one stubborn sprig of lavender. When we watered them, droplets ran down the counter and pooled in the grain of the wood. The house drank too. You could feel it in the quiet, a slow absorption, every living thing taking what it needed, leaving room for the next breath. Later, I found a page torn from Sophia's sketchbook on the porch. A drawing of the house with wide windows and roots that tangled underground. At the base of it, a single line in her uneven script. "Things that breathe can forgive." I traced the words with my thumb. They felt warm, even in the cold wind. The house shifted, faintly pleased. That night the temperature dropped, but the room stayed gentle. No creaks, no protests. Just a soft rhythm, the sound of belonging. In the mirror, no fog this time. Only light, and behind it, movement. A ripple traveling through the walls like a yawn. The hum returned, thin but sure. Not the old ache, not the warning tone. This was different. It followed my breathing, then let it. Inhale. Exhale. The house and I finding the same rhythm. Two lungs of the same memory. Two hearts dividing one silence. Outside, thunder whispered far away. No fear in it, just weather turning its page. The wind leaned on the windows like an old friend. Sophia slept with her jar beside the bed. Its glow was faint now, steady, like a lantern that finally trusts the dark. I brushed her hair from her face and whispered, "Keep it kind." The house answered with warmth beneath my bare feet. A pulse gentle as gratitude. Almost human. I sat by the window until morning. The first robin landed on the porch rail, tilting its head as if listening too. When it flew away, the silence followed it out the door. I breathed in the emptiness it left. It didn't hurt. It expanded. Forgiveness is never finished. It just changes form. Sometimes into air. Sometimes into song. When I exhaled, the walls moved with me. Barely, but enough. The sound of life, quiet as paper turning. And somewhere deep inside the beams and plaster, a new rhythm began. Not the hum of ghosts, but the breath of something learning to live. Every house that breathes must one day dream.